Hi, everyone. It's Kathleen Knaus again, chaplain at Vail Health in the Shaw Regional Cancer Center, wanting to send you greetings and well wishes for both the coming week and my hope that your last week was kind and gentle and included some joyful moments, even if some of those other moments were difficult. Today is Thursday, April 16th, as I'm recording this message for you. And if you live here in the Vail Valley, you are very aware that we are having a spring snowstorm. So that has got me thinking contemplative thoughts, including what it means, what's the nature of connectedness. Here we are in this era of COVID-19, and we're sheltering at home, and we're not having the opportunity to be in person with one another, whether it's with you and I, or you and your family members or your friends. We're having to keep our physical bodies away from one another. But I wonder, my question for you is, does that really mean that we are separate? Are we connected by some other way? That's where my mind is going, and where this, what has inspired my invitation for spiritual practice for you this week. I'd like to introduce you to the Living Daylight Guided Meditation. I was first introduced to it 2 years ago by Victoria Young, and she is one of many, but a particularly good herself, teacher of the Diamond Approach, which is a contemporary spiritual path. And the meditation is set to music. So I'm going to be sharing my screen here in a moment to a YouTube clip of some New Age music by an artist named Deuter. And it will be accompanied by images of the solar system. So the invitation is for you to just sit back, listen to the music, watch the beautiful images, and listen to my guided meditation. Just let it wash over you. Don't think about it too much. Just see how it lands. And I'll come back at the end and talk a little bit more about it. So bear with me while I share my screen. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'd like for you to do is make sure you're in a very comfortable position. So if you're sitting on a chair or lying down, or perhaps sitting on the floor, wherever you are, make sure that you're comfortable. And to the extent that it's possible, put your feet flat on the floor, and or if you're on the floor, sit cross-legged. In some way, allow yourself to feel grounded, to feel what's beneath you as supportive and holding you right now. And then take a few deep breaths in and out. In and out. And if you can, just allow a little peace of physical body and peace of mind to enter into your experience right now. From this place, I invite you to visualize or perceive or imagine, whatever words work for you, the cosmos, all the stars and all the galaxies that we are connected to. And I would like you to perceive or imagine or visualize this great cosmos being constituted by a living daylight, something beautiful, yellowy white, effervescent, iridescent, alive. I like to think of it as the glow of the golden aspen leaves in the fall. If you've ever had the experience of seeing the aspens here in the Rockies, change color in the fall. You have a sense of how I perceive this living daylight. And here's the cosmos, all the stars and all the galaxies constituted by it. And then in your mind's eye, imagine our solar system, our sun, and all the planets and moons. And notice that it too, imagine that it too is permeated by this same living daylight, bathed in it, constituted by it, permeating, exuding it. And let your mind now just focus on imagining the sun, a glorious representation of this living daylight. And bring your mind's eye into our solar system even further and visualize our home, one of many planets, our Mother Earth. Imagine Mother Earth also being a container for this living, loving daylight. And that this living, loving daylight flows out from Earth, flows through the cosmos, lights up our beautiful moon that we see at night. That the moon too is constituted by this living daylight, as is our Earth. Now thinking of it as our actual home, the place on which we were born, on which we will one day die. And in between those two endpoints, all these beautiful experiences, and some not so beautiful, that constitute human experience. That this earth too, and all that happens on it, is permeated by this living and loving daylight. And on the earth itself, this living, loving daylight constitutes the mineral kingdom, the rocks and all the elements that form the beautiful high Rockies that we live in here in Colorado, the ocean beds, the volcanic rock on which islands are formed. And that this same living and loving daylight is part of the plant kingdom, that it infuses and creates and is part of all of the trees, the grasses, the seaweed, the microorganisms, all those things that make up the plant kingdom. And then taking it a step further to the animal kingdom, whether it's a personal animal pet or the animals that inhabit our home here on earth, that all of them, they too, are permeated by this living, loving, beautiful daylight. And now I'd invite you to focus your attention to a particular animal, the human animal, that we too are part of this animal kingdom, and that we too are constituted by, permeated by, bathed in, aglow with this living, loving daylight. And right now, in the context of COVID-19 and sheltering at home and all the tensions that exist, it can be hard sometimes to imagine that this is true of us, that we are something other than mere bodies, that we are indeed all connected in some way, and that perhaps that way is this living and loving daylight, this beautiful golden essence. And as you sit with that, allow yourself to just imagine what it would be like if this was true. That inside every cell of your body is living, loving daylight. That inside the fiber of every person that you love is living, loving daylight. And yes, even inside all of those for whom we don't resonate, for whom we feel discord, frustration, anger, whatever the emotion is, that they too are permeated by this living, loving daylight. And because we are human, because we have experiences that imprint us and shape us in particular ways, it can be hard sometimes to see this as a possibility. But in this particular meditation, I invite you to consider it as a very real possibility that all of us, that all the animals and all the plants and all the minerals and all the planets and moons, in fact, the entire cosmos of stars and galaxies, are all expressions of this living, loving daylight. So I leave you with these thoughts. What is this thing I'm calling living daylight? And is it possible that physical distance does not mean separate? Well, my friends, that's where my brain has been this week. And I hope that it has been a thought-provoking guided meditation, if nothing else. It's nothing that says it has to resonate for you. But my hope is that it will at least make you curious, as I have been today, about what it is that connects us. That even in this era of sheltering at home, even in this era where we feel very, very real feelings of loneliness and separation, that perhaps the possibility exists that there is something magical and not understandable, perhaps, but something indeed that connects us all, one to the other. That's it for now. See you next week. Bye-bye.